uh, how much happiness we can search. What is the quality of happiness? We discussed in that. The similarities between humans and animals. Uh, and the similarity is a biological similarity. And then what is specialness is that we can inquire in the absolute, we can gain everlasting bliss, then we can make right choices, and we have determination, which animals won't have. But animals will use it only for doing about uh, sleeping, enjoying, eating, and defense. So continuing after that, in the second session we saw, so how we can get everlasting happiness. As humans, we have developed intelligence, logic, reasoning, reasonable faith. That has to be detailed with the knowledge of God. So the solution for overcoming the quench for everlasting happiness is when we connect ourselves with God. So by reviving our relationship with God, we can become everlastingly happy, even much more than what we are right now. So therefore, that triggers a topic called a sambandha, establishing a relationship with Lord. And then there's abhidaya, process of reviving it. And then there is uh, prayojan, that is what fruit we are going to get out of it. So then second session was, because if you want to become happy, the topic, the theme, it ended with the first session was, if you know God, KNW, we can know peace. And if you don't know God, NO, then we will not have peace. So therefore, then we saw, does logically we can reasonably tell that we are theist? Yes, we don't tell that we are atheist, but we can't tell with full confidence, Chhati Tan Ke ki I am a theist, but we don't accept also that we are atheist. So there is something called the circumstantial faith. Uh, Based on our activities of faith changes, then we saw different reasons for existence of God. That was art indicates an artist. We saw different photos. We saw different pictures. Leonardo da Vinci has is the artist behind Mona Lisa, and then we saw different landscapes which are drawn by different artists, and then accordingly we came to the concept called as art indicates an artist, and then we saw that creation indicates a creator. C for creation indicates a creator, and then we saw law. L for law indicates a lawmaker. Like whenever there's a law, there's a traffic policeman behind. And then we saw order and design existing in this whole planet Earth. The sun is rising on time, sun is setting on time, the seasonal changes. Based on the bodily needs, there are fruits coming, the seeds coming, the grains are coming. So that indicates order, and design indicates designer. And then at last we saw the demands and urges of a body. We have some demands, like when we become thirsty, there's water for it. When we become hungry, there is food arranged in the nature. Similarly, when we have a desire to worship someone, like whenever somebody starts worshiping a cricket star, somebody starts worshiping, become a fan of a film star. So similarly, people have a lot of fan following. There are some very extraordinary people, and they are having a lot of followers, and where this urge to follow someone, to try to glorify someone, try to worship someone is coming from, it's a need, which is an urge or a demand which is there inside us, because of which we are trying to worship it. So therefore, where that need is coming from, that is fulfilled, and that urge shows that yes, if we don't worship God, we have to worship someone. So in this way, based on the first session, if you want to become happy, uh, the real happiness is in search for happiness, is not uh, by the ways animalistic things are being done biologically, like by sleeping, eating, enjoying, and defending. But then we also saw, then present day world, what they are trying to do, they are trying to give us a lot of advancement with gadgets, with material advancement in terms of a lot of luxuries, fast food, lifestyle itself. But then that kind of advancement, which leads to pamper our senses, is not long lasting. Because then also we see, if you see the pinnacle of advancement in Western world, there's so much of advancement in terms of lifestyle, in terms of buildings, in terms of education, in terms of psychology, in terms of everything. But still people are committing suicide, still people are unhappy, still divorce rates are increasing, and we can see that. So therefore, sense gratification based on material advancement is an artificial way of trying to solve the problems. It's like a painkiller. So we saw in the first session, there are three types of painkillers. That is mental advancement, which gives us some enjoyment of senses. The second thing was the mental tricks, the therapies, uh, the type of things people want to bring some people out of depression and other things. So they're like mental tricks, which people use nowadays. And the third thing we saw, superficial religion. People try to take us to some mountain and then they try to take an inhale, exhale, and try to find divinity beyond nature. And the end product is that birth, old age, disease, and death, the four problems of life, Adhyatmic Klesh, Adibaudik Klesh, and Adidevik Klesh, they are not going to end. So this painkiller we need to administer with actual medicine, and that actual medicine is bona fide practice of spirituality from a right source, bona fide source, and that is what reviving our relationship with God. So when painkiller is administered with the right medicine, then it gives profound effect. On the other hand, just painkiller cannot give us the right solution. So I'm not telling that this sense gratification based on advancement, mental therapies, or superficial religion are not good. They can help us to some extent to keep our body and mind. But when it comes to really help out with the soul, we need bona fide spiritual practice based on scriptures. So with that in the understanding, we came to the conclusion, yes, we need to know who the created this world, who's the person behind it, and is there any way? Then we came to this second session where I just briefly discussed in the beginning. We saw four themes, that creation indicates the creator, that stands for C. Then there is a law implies a lawmaker, because there is so much laws inside the whole universe. There's law of gravity, there's law of optics, there's law of mechanics, and therefore law indicates a lawmaker. That is for L. It stands for L, and order and design is present in this universe. Like somebody puts a rangoli, there's a person behind it. Who put the rangoli? Similarly, there's so much of order and design in terms of chromosomes, DNAs, molecules. So who has made a wonderful design in this universe? So order and design indicates a person behind it, a designer behind it. And similarly, then we saw there is demands and urges. And then we are seeing urge to speak, urge to drink, urge to eat, and urge to worship. So if you want to really see Lord, the acronym is C for creation implies a creator, L for law implies a lawmaker, ORD for order and design indicates a designer, and then D for demands and urges. So we can see Lord by these four principles logically. And apart from this, we saw the definition of Lord. Lord is a proprietor. He is master of all the material and spiritual world. And then we saw he has to be supreme source of everything. If we go beyond, if we see we have a father and our father has a father and their parents have their, if we go back to the original father, then he is the source of everything. That is a source, proprietor and source. The third thing we saw, Lord is the enjoyer. We saw the analogy of hotel, and in hotel, the owner comes at the end of the day and takes all the money. But all the hotel people are the dependent enjoyers, the employees. They slog from beginning morning 8 to evening 8. But then, as soon as the owner of the hotel gets money, he shares at the end of the month some part of it because they're dependent enjoyers. Similarly, in this universe, the creator is the independent enjoyer, and we, being the part of the creation, we are dependent enjoyers. So therefore, the third definition of God is independent enjoyer, E. And then with these three understanding, we concluded, can we see God in that case? Yes, we can see God. We can see God. We can see Him the way we see each other, but there is a process behind it, and that we discuss in the third session called as ways of gaining knowledge. There are three ways of gaining knowledge. There is first is pratyaksha praman, that is direct sense perception, experimental way. The Anuman Praman, that is guesswork, trying to speculate about what is what. Third is hearing from a bona fide person. In that, I gave an analogy of the Delhi College of Engineering. Battery was being discharged from a chemistry lab. It went to the scrap shops, and when it went till the end of the main headquarters, all those people who had come in touch with this battery, they were facing a lot of health issues, and they were being admitted in hospital. As doctors could not diagnose them, but later on they had to take help. They wanted to know what is that is it is having a series of disease being caused in a particular firm. So then they found out that black box was a battery of isotope radioactive element, and then they, also being doctors, they had to contact Baba Atomic Research Center uh, people so that they can get some way to nullify this isotope radioactive elements effect on these people. And then in discussion with these scientists, they administered a particular medicine, and what would happen was then this issue was solved. Although the doctors are expert in terms of diagnosing things, but when it comes when there's elements involved in some chemical industries, or when they go into the space, the spacemen, and when they have to administer something to them, they have to get in touch with experts, and then they can actually find out the right solution. So therefore, although we may be very experienced, we may have a scientific knowledge, we may have a very guess working ability, but still when it comes to material facts, we need help, we need help of experts. So similarly, in terms of spirituality, we need to contact some bona fide experts in that field. And like there's a branch of chemistry, people who are expert in that, we approach them for getting a degree, we go to bona fide institution. Similarly, parampara system is on the Shabda Praman. The parampara system is like a college university. The teachers in the university are like the bona fide representatives. They are like acharyas or gurus who have undergone a training under a particular spiritual master or a guru. And then there are classrooms and a particular books are being used. The Vedic literature is like a textbook. And the way we approach chemistry, maths, and science, if we can approach spirituality logically, entomologically, theologically, and based on experimental knowledge, because science goes based on experiment, but spirituality goes by based on experiential knowledge. So our body's apparatus, the Vedic books are like the law books for us, and when we start practicing it, we can see the change in experience. So that is what we concluded. Shabda Praman is a very bona fide way of practicing spirituality, and we can get complete knowledge based on Shabda Praman. And then we concluded that there are four bona fide sampradayas, and today's session is our fourth session. This session is based on Jiva as soul, and let's share the PPT with you in some time. So we've just covered three sessions now, and even if some of you are attending have not attended the previous sessions, but if you come for this session, you can still understand it, because this part is completely independent of the previous whatever we discussed, because it's a section of Jiva. Till now we have been discussing the theme called as Ishvaraha, but today's section which we are going to discuss is based on Jiva. I hope all of you are able to see this PPT. So whenever we see ourselves in the mirror, or when things don't work our way, we have a question: who am I? So therefore, this is showing a session 3, uh, because we have split the session into two parts. Therefore, as I was telling, this session, each session is of 1.5 hours. So second session is split into two parts. Therefore, we have covered 3 sessions in the first last week. So, but this session now for us it's session 4. So we are going to see why I put faith in scriptures. Who am I? What is the proof of the existence of soul? How many bodies do we have? And some questions about soul. So based on Shabda Praman, we saw compared to Pratyaksha and Anuman Praman, Shabda Praman is it's like manual. Every machine has a manual. The Vedic literature like axiomatic truth. There are many predictions which have come true. Like there's a washing machine. Similarly, there's a manual for it. Similarly, for us human beings, there is Vedic literature. Uh, if you see in science or in mathematics, there are many axiomatic truths. They are like self-evident truth, which does not require any proof. Similarly, in Vedic literatures, we can see that cow dung is pure, although it is an excrete of an animal. But for a period of time, people have proven that yes, it has a lot of antiseptic properties. And there are astonishing predictions in the scriptures, appearance of great personalities before they appeared, and that is the reason we put faith. So why should we put our faith in scriptures? Because it has stood the test of time. So Vedic literature like our mother, and this is what I was telling, that this was a discussion of our last session, Pratyaksha Hanuman. on our own practice. If you want to know who our father is and we start testing all human beings, it becomes difficult. Just ask mother, who is the father. So faith in mother's statement, it's like having faith in the Vedic literature, not the blind faith, but a reasonable faith, can fetch us the information of who actually God is. Faith is an integral part of our life. Whenever you go to a barber, when he is shaving us, or when he's cutting, or when he is shaving our beard, we have faith that he will not cut our neck. When we board a flight, when we get into a train or a bus, we have faith this person is a licensed driver. He will not end up with accident. Whenever we go to doctor, we have faith that this doctor will completely take care of myself, and he is bona fide doctor. He has a degree and is specialized in a particular way, and therefore surely he is going to get me through this operation. And similarly, like we have faith, this faith which we discussed in is called as reasonable faith. Faith based on logic and reasoning, entomologically, theologically. So this faith is not a blind faith. Similarly, there's something called Andhashraddha in Hindi, and then there's something called as Shraddha or Vishwas, which is reasonable. That Shraddha is what we are demanding even in the field of spirituality. So we can have questions, can have answers, but we can just reject everything, telling it's a dogma. So scriptures are like mother, God is like a supreme father. And if you want to become happy, we have to revive a relationship with God Father. The way to gain that knowledge is by coming in touch with scriptures. And scriptures not only give knowledge about the God Ishvara, which is the first theme of Bhagavad Gita, but also gives the knowledge about Jiva, that is a living entity. So today's topic for us is to get knowledge of any subject matter, we refer to a book in that field. Similar to get knowledge of God, we must refer to scriptures. Actually, there are different branches. So similarly, spirituality is a branch of knowledge and it has a way of approach. Textbook for understanding spirituality is Shabda Praman, that is Vedic literature. So now the next topic is who am I? Who are you? Or who am I? So the whole Bhagavata discussion, uh, as I was discussing, it started because Arjuna was incapable. He became very, very disturbed by seeing his own relatives in front of him. And in that precarious condition, he was thinking whether to fight, whether not to fight. And in that discussion, when he sat down and he left aside his main work prescribed to fighting, then Lord Shri Krishna wanted to give him a very inspirational talk by which he could perform his prescribed duty. And then the first knowledge which we gave him was, I think you are identifying too much with your body, Arjuna. And you are thinking of this body and you're not ready to fight against your relatives, thinking that you'll destroy them. If you don't destroy them, time anyway will destroy them. Why? Because as sure as death, this body has a beginning, this body has an end. And therefore, whether you fight with them, whether you don't fight with them, they are going to die. They are not going to remain permanently. And when this was told, Asuchanam Asuchastam Prajnavadam Sabhashache, Gatasu Nagatatsunsta, Nanu Shoshanti Pandita, when this knowledge is given by Lord Shri Krishna to Arjuna, that Dehi Nosminata Dehi Kaumaram Yavanandara, Tata Deham Taras Praptir Dhirastram. This section is the basis of second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which we are discussing today. It's about all of us. It's about the living entities, it's about jivatmas. It's not only about human beings, but all the in the whole of creation, all the living entities are present, they're all jivatmas. So similarly, when we see ourselves as a body and we see that our near and dear ones living away, and we see someone who's very attractive, but suddenly somebody, because of ill health, because of heart attack, because of brain tumor, and because of some dysfunctional multi-organ failure, and suddenly they leave us, we become shocked in our life and we see where this person has gone. And therefore, death is a big, big, big shock for all of us. And then what we do to think of something that we are not means we are crazy. So most of us identifying a lot with our body. And because body grows old, so similarly we think that okay, then we start in the denial mode that yes, I think I'll not grow old. I think I'll not die. I think I'll not become deceased. I think I'll not undergo the sufferings. But first thing we should understand that who actually we are, and because we are thinking something which we are not, therefore we identify with something which we are not, we end up in going into a negative thinking point of view. But actually, if you see, according to the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, and we are going to see three evidences for it: scientific evidence, logical evidence, and then we'll come to scriptural evidence. Actually, beyond this body, there is something which exists, and that is what is called as soul. But what is the proof for soul's existence? For example, when we go through, when we observe ourselves, we see that we have some intentions. We start here, we have thinking capability, we have the reasoning capability, and we have emotions for the near and dear ones. And all these things are something which is very, very rational. But what is making, when you go and slap someone, he reacts very powerfully. But when you go and slap a wall, there is no reaction. So, what is the difference between living and non living things? The difference is in terms of, yes, there is some living spark in it, which makes it living, and there is no living spark in it. You can take all the chemicals in the laboratory and try to produce life, it becomes very difficult because life doesn't come from chemicals, life comes from life. So, proofs for soul existence is logic, that is common sense. Second is introspection, like I was just now telling, introspecting, and consciousness. And the second proof is science, near death experience and reincarnation. And third proof, we are going to see scripture. So, when near and dear one leaves the body, as most of us have spent a lot of time in this, yeah, in this life, and surely we have seen at least a funeral or a departure ceremony of some near and dear ones. And based on that, when a person dies, we say he has passed away. But who has passed away? For example, the whole body is lying there only, and everybody says whether in Hindi or guzar gaye, whether in English he has passed away, and I think in Telugu chelipoyadu, and Kannada how bitru, or different languages there are different things, and similarly, but the body is lying there only. But who has passed away? That means without our knowledge, we are communicating. Yes, someone has passed away. Once our Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, when he went to West in 1967, he went. And in 68, 69, he had gone to one of a nice school there in the US, somewhere in Boston, and he had to give a talk to primary school children, and he had been invited for a discussion there. And seeing all the students gathered together, so Prabhupada called one of a student in the gathering and told, "So, how many of who is the most intelligent student in your class?" And Prabhupada put this question. Then everybody started pointing out to one personality who was there in the class with the specs, and with every, and he was and she was a girl with the specs, and she was very smart, and everybody pointed to her, and she raised her hand and she came in front, and Prabhupada called her near him. When she came near to Prabhupada, Prabhupada started asking these questions. Uh, whose spectacle is this? Then she told, "It is mine. The spectacle belongs to me. It is mine." Then Prabhupada asked, "Whose skirt is this?" Then the girl replied, "Your Honor, it's my skirt." Then later on, Prabhupada asked, "Whose shoes are these which you are wearing?" She replied, "These are my shoes." Then Prabhupada pointed to her hand. "Whose hand is this?" Then the girl told, "It's my hand." And then Prabhupada told, whose legs are these?" And the girl replied back, "These are my legs." And everybody was like, no, all children were just like, trying to smile, giggle, and they were trying to find out, these are simple, common sense questions. And why, even we can answer this, why a topper has to be called on the stage for this thing? And Prabhupada made a point, pointing out, so this hand is yours, this leg is yours, this stomach is yours, and whose body is this? Then the answer came from the girl, "This is my body." And then Prabhupada asked her to give the spectacle, and she took the spectacle outside. And Prabhupada asked, "Is this spectacle you?" The girl replied, "No, it is different from me." That means which anything which is different from you, you under your belonging, you call it as mine. Something, if I ask you, "Who are you?" Then the answer was, "I am," her name was something, she told, "I am this student here, I'm this body, I'm an Indian, I'm an US resident, I'm from so and so country, I'm a mother, I'm a father," all this identification for the body. So when this question came to that girl, when she told, "I'm this body," but then bring out the same concept. When I'm using this laptop and this speaker and this microphone, this is belonging to me. This is different from me. So similarly, I'm calling it as mine, that which is under my care. Similarly, when it comes to the body, when I ask this question to the body, and when I ask a question to all of you, who are you? Then you should say, I body. Whose body is this? We should tell this is my body. But we tell it my body. But if actually we are this body, we should tell it is I body. But that is not the case, because laptop is different from me. I call it as my laptop. But the person who's trying to speak it out is different from the body, and therefore this body is under my possession. Therefore I call this body as my body. This body is different from me. The car is different from me, therefore I call it as my car. Therefore similarly, when people leave their body, we tell, yes, the soul has passed away. So this is called as intuitive understanding or introspection or common sense. So I covered common sense now, and then the second proof for it was introspection. Just now what example I gave was regarding logic. Introspection, when I say, who are you, we should tell, like, whose body is this, we should tell if we are actually this body, we should tell according to grammar, according to our introspection, should tell it as I body. But we don't tell it as I body, but we tell it as my body. When anytime we tell as mine, that means we are separate from it. Therefore we are souls which are separate from this body, therefore we're calling it as my body. Therefore that soul is our actual identity. That is the introspection, the example of Srila Prabhupada which I called, which I just quoted. And third proof for soul's existence according to logic is, we can see our nails, we can see our hairs, we can see the dead matter around, we can see our table, we can see chair, we can see wall, we can see all living beings. You go and try to hit it, but there's no reaction. But when you come to your own body, when you come to your own skin, when you come to your own any living body, you touch it, immediately there is sensation. Why there is sensation? Because consciousness is spread throughout the body. How? Like in the universe, sun rises, and whenever sun rises, day happens. When sun sets, then night starts. So as sun rises, the whole sun rays are spread throughout the whole galaxy, and there is photosynthesis, the food is being produced, there's rain, and all the things is happening. The whole creation happens because of sunrise and sunset. So similarly, in our body, in the region of the heart, soul is existing. And sitting there through the medium of the blood, the soul is pervading consciousness all throughout the body through the medium of nervous system. And wherever there is no blood flow, example the nails, example the hair, you cut it, you don't feel any pain because there is no blood flowing through it. So therefore, soul spreads consciousness all throughout the whole body through the medium of blood. So therefore, I know I exist. I can feel myself. I can sense myself. I can rationally think myself. I can have some emotions. I can feel I'm hungry. I can feel I'm thirsty. This is called as consciousness. And therefore, anybody is conscious. That means that is symptom of life. But those things which are not conscious, like non-living things, that means they don't have life. Soul is absent in them. And this is the third proof logically that we exist, means we have consciousness. So that was regarding the logic. This common sense, who has passed away, soul has passed away, introspection, whose body is this? Most of us still my body. That means it is something different from us. That means the soul is the owner of this body. Therefore, we tell it is my body based on the introspection and consciousness. The symptom of consciousness is to bless. It spreads through the whole body through the medium of blood. Wherever the blood doesn't flow, that is not having any consciousness, and therefore through this nervous system and blood flow, we can sense, we can feel, we can have sensation in our body. So that means with the dead body, if you do the same thing with the dead body, it will not speak, it will not react, nothing, because blood is there, but the soul has passed away. That is the main thing. The driver has passed away. So let's see based on science. In science, also, Dr. Michael Sibom tells in his experiments there's something called near-death experiences, especially in the Western audience, who are interviewed regarding the near-death experiences. 11 to 17% of the Americans they believed in near-death experiences and reincarnation. What is near-death experiences? And people go into the medical lab, medical operation theater. Some of them see that they are able to view their body, they are able to see the doctor who's operating them, and then over a period of time, when they come back from the coma, when everything is cured, and then they are able to point out, yeah, this particular doctor was trying to operate on me. And many books are there, many case studies are there based on this. That means the soul is inside the body, when the whole operation is going on, the soul comes out of the body and it's just trying to observe it. Because anyway, as told, if body can be compared to the car, the soul is compared to the driver. When there is a car goes to the garage, so driver comes out and the work is going on the car, so he's able to easily able to see that work on the car done by a mechanic. So similarly, when it comes to body, some rare cases are there visible in nature by which nowadays people are able to see from scientific point of view such near death experiences. Many people have undergone these near death experiences. A sense of being dead, a sensation of floating above one's body and seeing the surrounding area, a sensation of moving upwards through a tunnel or a narrow passage, and then over a period of suddenly they come back. It's almost like they're dead. They almost reach to some very strange, unknown place, and then they again come back, and then they see things ahead. Then they're near and dear ones in front of them, and doctors in front of them. Encountering being of light or a light, a feeling of being returning to the body, often accompanied by reluctance. These are like near death experiences and out of body experiences, and even reincarnation also. So, therefore, one of the scientific proof is near death experiences and out of body experience. Near death is like you almost go, you almost, it's like you're out of your body, again, you come back to your body. You're almost dead, but suddenly people are trying, everything is happening, but suddenly you're declared clinically dead, but again, you come back to life. Now, what is out of body experiences? When operation is being done on a body, you travel, a soul travels out of the body, but again comes back. Hmm. Reincarnation, second proof, second scientific proof. Dr. Ian Stevenson, professor of psychiatry, West Virginia University, in his thesis proved 2,000 cases of reincarnation. He has 15 to 60 parameters because reincarnation can be, somebody might want to become famous, therefore he can code many things. Therefore, he has made 15 to 20, 50, 60 parameters based on which he investigates children. Then he go to a particular place, whatever relevant evidences they give, and he tries to check with it, and he makes sure those things are right, and then he concludes that in his thesis. So, past life memories. Ian Stevenson, Carlson Professor of Psychiatry, University of Virginia, has extensively investigated over 2,000 cases of spontaneous reincarnation memories. So what happens in a reincarnation is we have a body, and inside this body there is a subtle body, and then there is a soul. So when this body is burnt, the subtle body and the soul continues to the next body uh, based on its affinity to the body, and that is how. And the subtle body mind has all the thoughts of this present life, and it carry forwards that thoughts into the next body. And that is how living entities remember reincarnation. It's a case study of Shukla. Mana Chakravarti was a woman. Later on, she was born as Shukla in her next life. There are a lot of books available, a lot of scientific research being done in it. In 1980s, it was a big thing. As a child, I have been watching many stories, many movies regarding this thing. Mm. And there are many such cases as Jaspir Singh and Mushar Ali Shah, and they have been taking. There are many case studies again. This at least it is just a gist. We have separate session regarding this in upcoming sessions regarding reincarnation. So if reincarnation really exists, why don't we remember our past life? I'll come back to this reincarnation concept a little later, because to explain this concept, we have to come to the conclusion of what we consist of. If we understand what we consist of, then we can explain more of reincarnation or bodily constitution. Third part is how can we seize the soul? Scriptural knowledge. So when we take a sesame seed and till seed, can we find oil in it? Can we see the oil in the oil seeds? Can we see ghee in a milk? Once a person came to a king, a sadhu, and the king replied, "Can you show me God?" Then the sadhu told to the king, "Okay, can I get a milk before I answer your question? Glass of milk with a spoon." And then glass of milk with a spoon was given to the king, this sadhu. And when king asked him question, "Can you show me God?" This sadhu took a glass of milk and took a spoon and kept on stirring it, stirring it, stirring it, stirring it, stirring it. And then the king replied, asked him a question again. "I asked you, can you show me God?" "That is what I'm doing." "What do you mean?" This your question is like asking, giving me a milk and asking, can I show you ghee from milk?" Then the king understood. Subjector told him, like, if you want to see ghee from a milk, you need a procedure behind it. You have to put curd, and then you should form a curd, then take a curd and churn it. After churning, you'll get butter. Then the butter has to be boiled, and then you can see a ghee. So similarly, if you really want to see soul, if you really want to see God, there's a procedure for it, and that you have to follow. Same thing as sugar in sugar cane. When you take a sugar cane, it has to go to a sugar factory. We have to remove the molasses, separate it. We have to take sucrose and we have to make it crystal, add some chemical, make it white. Yes, we can see soul, but there's a procedure. There's a definite procedure for it. As rose flower, we can get rose perfume. From till sesame seed, we can get till oil. As a fire is present in the wood, as ghee is present in the milk, as jaggery is present in the sugar cane, but a procedure has to be performed. Similarly, different branches of material science, different branches have different apparatuses. For physics, there is physical apparatus. Chemistry, there are different chemicals, and in biology there's microscope. And similarly, uh, for finding out soul, we can have a experiential, we can experience it with an analogy, with an example. Like car can be compared to the body, and the driver can be compared to the soul. Similarly, in the mouth to speak, the car has horn to sound, person has eyes to see, their headlights. When there is dark, you have to switch on the headlight so that you can go travel ahead. There's heart to pump the blood. Similarly, there is radiator to supply the water, hands and legs to move. Similarly, four wheels to move. The car cannot budge 1 inch without the driver. If you are west of the car and driver is not there, the car will not move. Similarly, when you take a key, car key, and the driver puts inside it, and he ons the engine, and he puts hand leg on his accelerator and puts his hand on the steering, and he starts maneuvering the car starts moving. Similarly, moment the driver gets up from the car cannot move without an inch. Similarly, as soon as the soul leaves the body becomes dysfunctional. It cannot budge an inch. So, what do doctors feel about us? Yes, based on analysis, analytical analysis, anatomy, the body is made of calcium 5 pounds, phosphate 1.5 pounds, potassium 9 ounces, sulfur, sodium, magnesium, iron, copper, and all this cost come together to, this was 7 8 years back. Now it might be some ₹1,000. So, according to the constitution of a body, it's just worth ₹1,000 based on the chemical analysis. So we have a very big, rich 30 40 worth like BMW car with us, and you get a call suddenly on your mobile that your close and dear friend has met in an accident driving a BMW car on it should not happen. Just an analogy, and he has met in an accident on a highway and he's thoroughly injured, and a car is worth 30 lakhs. And based on the anatomy study of the body, it's worth only ₹1,000. And when you go to that place and see your friend, will you take the car to the garage because it's costing 30 35 lakhs? Or will you take your friend to a hospital? And answer is very simple. We take our friend to the hospital because it's not just mechanistic value of that body. Something much more worthier than that ₹1,000 is existing inside the body. And that just body is simply an instrument, a covering for that most important personality. That is what is the living spark is in it. That living spark makes it attractive. Moment the living spark goes away from the body starts decaying. Even if you keep it in the freezer, it starts decaying. Therefore, you are not the body that you see in the mirror, or we see in the mirror. You are the Atma, the real driver of the bodily car. This is the first teaching of Bhagavad Gita, the Jivatma. And most of the time, what happens with us? Why first session we saw why we become unhappy, or why we are searching for happiness and we feel we are not getting the happiness because we are trying to search for happiness in the wrong place. We have brought a parrot and we are kept in the cage, but instead of giving food to the parrot, we are trying to polish the cage. And we saw the wonderful story in yesterday's sitting. And rather than trying to just polish the cage, like body is just like a cage, mind is just like a cage, but beyond the mind and body, there is soul. We should try to do activities related to the soul. And when we do that, when we feed the soul, then we can become really happy. And that is the answer to the question, how can we become eternally happy? And that is the meaning of yoga. Yoga means to connect soul to the super soul. And that is what can give us everlasting happiness and bliss. Just as the bird in the trapped in the cage, the soul is trapped in the body made up of five elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Not knowing their real identity as a soul, the people spend all their life in polishing the cage, pampering the body without feeding the soul. So, how many bodies do we have? Like I was just telling, before explaining reincarnation and near death and out of body experiences, I told we have a soul. Our body has three parts. What is the constitution of the body, or what this body can be divided into three parts: physical body, astral or subtle body, and the spiritual body. So, how many bodies do we have? We have three bodies based on knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. That is inferior material body, stula sharir, our gross body, that which we can touch, we can see, that is called as gross body. That when somebody leaves the body which we burn, that is called स्थूल शरीर को जला देते हैं हम लोग कोई मरने के बाद, देहांत के बाद, तो उसको बोलते हैं स्थूल शरीर. और उस स्थूल शरीर का भाग क्या है? दैट इज अर्थ, वाटर, फायर, एयर एंड ईथर. इस भूमि, जल, अपो, वायु, कम. And beyond this inferior material body, there is gross component and the subtle component. That which you can touch, you can see, that is gross body, stool sharir. That which we can perceive, we can feel, we can experience, that is called as subtle body. Like when you're sitting in this class, you're trying to hear me, you're trying to analyze it, you can have questions, you can logically reason it, you can consider whether to continue with it or not continue with it. Whether does it make sense or it doesn't make sense. That kind of thought process comes in this analysis of mind, and then you can make a right decision. Discrimination, that is intelligence, and identifying, okay, this is mine, this is theirs, that is called ego. This is subtle. It's like there's a laptop, there's a hardware, and there is a software. That software can be compared to subtle body, and the user is using the laptop. That user is called as the soul, superior spiritual body. And that is like spiritual body, that soul. Like all of us, we are identifying, I am, therefore I exist. That I am is the soul, and the identification of the body is the false ego. So the soul has three components. Like gross body has components, five components: earth, water, fire, air, ether, which we call as Panch Mahabhut, which gets burnt when we die. But after our death, there is one body called subtle body, made up of mind, intelligence, and ego, which is subtle. And there is spiritual body, which is superior spiritual body, made up of Sat, eternity, Chit, knowledge, and bliss. Sat means most of us want to stay forever, young forever. Where this is propensity or inclination to stay forever, and we don't want to die coming from, because we are actually like that. We don't want to die. That is coming from such picture of spiritual soul. And we want to know about everything. We want to know about all the secrets of this world. When it comes to Bermuda Triangle, or when it comes to some other island, we want to know all details about it. We don't want any secret to be unturned, whether in science, whether in spirituality, whether in subtleties of emotions, whether in psychology, and all the aspects. We want to know all the secrets. Why? Because that knowledge, that quench for knowledge is always there. I want to know where this is coming from, because soul has all the knowledge, complete knowledge. And then there's Ananda, bliss, and you want to become happy. The first session, the whole discussion of Bhagavad Gita, first chapter, first session of this introduction course was based on search for happiness. That means we are not finding happiness, complete happiness which you're searching. Where that is coming from. That need for happiness, that thirst for happiness is coming from the soul. But the soul is having all happiness, soul is having all knowledge, soul is having eternal experience, it never dies. But the gross body has a temporary, it is not eternal, it is temporary. The knowledge, it is having ignorance because it is gross body. It is burnt at one point of time and decayed, and it get destroyed at particular time. And because there is temporary, we become fearful when we identify the body, because since childhood we identify the body, and suddenly we see that someone dies, or we are also planning to, we will also end up in something that creates a lot of insecurity, and starts questioning, that triggers free fear in us. Therefore, when you know this, when you start reading Bhagavad Gita, this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita really inspires us, and we can understand that we are not this body, we are spirit soul. So gross body is made up of earth, water, fire, air, ether. Like the outer coat, subtle body is made up of mind, intelligence, and ego. Man, Buddhi, and Ahankar. It is inside part, and then there is soul inside that, and that is you or body, the person inside. That is Satchit Ananda. So, for example, what happens at the time of death? If you're able to see it very clearly in this picture, soul is covered by gross and subtle coverings. Gross body is there, subtle body is there. There is spirit soul is there. Gross body is having earth, water, fire, air, and ether. The subtle body is having mind, intelligence, and ego. Man, buddhi, ahankar. What is mind? Mind performs a function of storing all the information. It's like a hard disk. It's like a memory card. Intelligence is like a discriminator. It's like a CPU. It can take decisions. And false ego is like, this is mine. This is my seat. Something like that. That aham, I, that is ego. And the soul, that is pure soul, which is existing beyond this subtle and gross body, is eternity, knowledge, and bliss. Earth, water, fire, air, and ether, that is the outer body. Then the subtle body is mind, intelligence, and ego, where thinking mechanism is going on. And then there is eternity aspect, the soul, which continues. So when we die, the outer body, stool sharir, that gets burnt here. And along with the subtle body, the soul goes to the next body. And that is how all the knowledge, all the information of our present life is stored in the mind. And along with that mind, it is being processed by the intelligence, and the ego is there, which identifies the soul and goes off. For example, you are seeing a very favorite live, some people may like cricket, some people may like a live first movie, or some live concert is going on, and suddenly you are seeing it on your smartphone or laptop, and someone comes from somewhere, a near and dear one, and he wants your time. And what he does is just snatches the smartphone from you. It's a climax, and it's a T20 Cup going on, and the World Cup, and India is with Pakistan, and then there's 1 over, and there are 20 runs, and first three balls, there are three fours, and remaining three balls, we have to score 8 runs, and suddenly a dear relative comes to you and snatches your smartphone and runs away. So what you will do? You will leave that room and start running behind him to catch that, because that is very excitement. Excitement is created. It is hyped there. So similarly, when you stay in this body, although you are living in a living room, this body compared to the room, that smartphone can be compared to the mind, subtle body, and you as a user is compared to the soul. Similarly, the soul is so much attached to this gross body in the room, but all the body, gross body simply facilitates the whole actions, but all the desires are stored in subtle body in the mind. And therefore, when you want to choose at the time of death between the gross body and the subtle body, the soul, because the smartphone runs away and then you run behind the smartphone to actually see what is going to happen at the climax. Similarly, whole life we have led through a particular way and the climax is created, and at the time of death, that climax is not answered. So you want to answer the climax. So therefore, what happens is soul clinges to subtle body, and therefore, along with the subtle body, it sits on the plane of subtle body, is carried based on its desire to the particular body. If a desire has been very animalistic, we get animal body. If a desire has been very holy, we get a divine body. Desire has been humanly, we get a human body. So this is how the conception happens. Therefore, when I'm speaking of reincarnation, the gross body we shed it here only, but the soul along with the subtle body goes to the next destination to complete the task, a mission. It's the mission of the soul is not accomplished, therefore it accepts a new body. But when that mission of the soul is accomplished and it comes with the true goal, then we get a spiritual body. Dehinosmin yada dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tata dehantaras praptir dhirastranam yati. The body is there, body is made up of matter, soul is made of spirit. Body is not conscious, it is conscious, changes, no changes, temporary and eternal. It's dead, but it is alive. That is what Shri Krishna told Arjuna. You don't have to worry about the body because you don't have to worry about your relatives because anyway soul is alive. But you have to do a prescribed duty because anyway by time the bodies will be dead. But you can't just run away from a prescribed duty. So as we grow from childhood to young to old age, then again we shed the body. Then accordingly, when parents see that our clothes are torn out, parents come to us and give us a new body, new cloth. Similarly, Mother Nature along with Father God, He gives us new body when we see that our the body is worn out. But the person who is dhira doesn't get bewildered by this. So scriptures say that life after death, it's a fact, because soul is sitting as a passenger, intelligence is the driver. The reins of the horses are compared to like a mind, and the horse are compared to the five senses: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. This is a chariot of body example. The whole chariot is compared to the body, Rath, the vehicle. The driver is compared to the intelligence. The steering can be compared to the mind, which way, right decision, wrong decision, and the senses can be compared to the horses. And soul is just sitting and perceiving. And once the chariot gets spoiled, along with that intelligence and the mind, the soul goes to the next body. Indriyani para anyor indriya paramanaha manasto para buddhiyartha buddhe parastu saha. That means beyond the gross senses is the mind, beyond the mind is the intelligence, and beyond the intelligence is subtler than the intelligence is soul. So some questions based on soul: what happens to us after death? As I was telling, we shed the gross body. The soul can never die, it is eternal. Though nainam chidnanti shastrani nainam dhati pavakaha na chainam cho dayantapoho na shoshati marutaha. Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, 23rd verse. The soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened, nor withered. That means we continue to exist. And what is that existence? Momentum is always there. Entropy always exists. It always increases. So whether in some form we exist. So in which form we want to exist? So right now, people say, when you give them solution, we should go be good. We should follow Vedas. We should follow this laws of nature. Then they tell, who has seen what is their next life? किसने देखा है? जब तक जीवन जब तक जिंदा हो, खाओ पियो मजा करो, क्या जरूरत है फॉलो करने का? व्हाट इज द नीड टू बी moralistic? People ask such questions. People don't believe that this is not one life. That is what one of the theme of Bhagavad Gita. This life is not all in all. Next life exists. This body is not all in all. Beyond his soul exists. This world is not in all. Beyond this there is spiritual world. And we are not all in all. Beyond this there is God existing. So Lord Shri Krishna is saying Bhagavad Gita, where does the soul come from? From that spiritual world. Mamai Vamsha Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana Manasashtani Indriyani Prakristani Karshati. The living entities in this conditional world are eternal fragmental parts. Due to the conditional life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. We are all part and parcel of Supreme Lord, and therefore, when we we are his part and parcel, and therefore we went to serve him and please him, and therefore soul comes from the spiritual world, Vaikuntha Loka, and right now we are in Bhuloka. So because of our independent mentality, we have come here, and therefore we have got a particular body, we got a particular mind, and we are just struggling with the mind and senses because we are eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss, but we are trapped in the body which is temporary, completely in ignorance, and which is completely in misery. And that is the reason there is an incompatibility. What happens to us after the death? As I told, there is gross body which is burnt or which is buried, the subtle body which has all the desires. Like I was giving an example, smartphone. When the climax thing is going on and somebody snatches the smartphone from you, you are ready to leave the room and run away behind that thief or near and dear one to get the mobile back, because all your desires are in it, all the password is in it, and you want to just take it back. Similarly, all the desires and all the hankering is there in the subtle body, and therefore, based on the law of last thought, whatever you remember at the time of death, we get the next body. As a person puts on new dresses, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts the new material body is giving up the old and useless ones. Like that smartphone is carried by anyone, even if it's, what to speak of, if he's a thief, he's carrying, then you all the way become start running behind him like anything, because all secrets are there in it. All things are mentioned in it, and people can just take out all of your money, and therefore you become all the more conscious. You are ready to leave your room and run away if you are alone, at the cost of that smartphone, because it it is something much more to you. Similarly, all the desires of the thing of us are in the subtle body. Therefore, when choice is given whether to accept the gross body, to catch on the gross body or subtle body, the soul accepts the subtle body so that it can carry on with its next term. That is the mechanism of reincarnation. What happens to us after death? Yayam vapi imam vapisparan bhavam dhrijanti kalevaram tam tam evaiti kauntiya sada tad bhava bhavita. Based on the analogy which I gave last time, the soul leaves the gross body behind and it is taken to the another room based on the quality of desires, because desires are stored in subtle body, especially mind. intelligence and ego. And based on the desires, it accepts, as showed in the subtle body, it gets a particular body in the next life. For example, if you see, if you go outside to walk, you can see people wearing different dresses. Why people wear different dresses? Why there is variety? Because people have different desires, they have different inclinations. Based on the thought process, everybody is unique, therefore they wear unique dresses. Similarly, why there is so much variety of species existing in nature? Because all living entities are having different desires, and to fulfill that particular desire, the nature has given them so many garments, and each particular body indicates a particular way of enjoyment of senses. A polar bear can indicate a lot of sleep. A tiger can indicate why you want to eat something without cooking. So eat directly, pounce on it and eat something on it indirectly without cooking it. So a particular desire indicates a particular body. So based on what we remember at the time of death, based on desires from this body, we accept next body. Is the soul in everybody the same? Is there a central soul and we just go back and unite with him after death? Or we are responsible all through? There is no unification, we continue to exist separately? Yes, no, we continue to exist separately. For example, there can be twins, and the twins can look similarly, completely alike, twins paradox, but their behaviors, their temperaments are completely different. That means there are two different souls in twins body itself. Although they are born at the same time with a difference of 1 2 minutes, still their whole behavior temperament pattern is different. They may look alike, but their thought process is different, their thinking is different. Therefore, na tevaham jatu nasham, na tam neme janadipa, na chaiva na bhavishyami, sarve vaya patam param. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any one of us cease to be. That means we continue to exist. Does the soul have form? Yes, soul has a form. For example, gloves, our finger has a form, therefore when we put gloves on the finger, it has a form. Similarly, your body is having a form, shows that like a cloth is there, you put cloth on the chair, then the cloth takes the form of the chair. Put a cloth on your body, it fits on your body. Similarly, your body shows that the body is having a form, shows that soul should have a form. Like there's a cricket gloves, it is put on fingers, it starts shaking. So similarly, our body, gross body indicates what desires are there. Based on the desire, we accept a body. Our desire become animalistic, we can accept animalistic body. Our desire become humanly, we get a human body. Our desire become divine, we get a divine body. And based on that soul, like is like a spectacle. You put a red color on it, you can see red. You put a black color, blue color on it, you can see blue. You put a plain white color on it, but the transparent on it, you can see as it is. So based on the interaction with the three modes, Rajogun, Tamagun, Sattvagun, the soul accepts different bodies. Therefore, soul is having a form. And right now, soul is having a shrunken form. For example, you take a grapes, you dry the grapes, dried grapes are having a shrunken form. Similarly, right now, the soul is not in its abode, and therefore it is in the form of shrunken, very, very small way. So, where does the soul reside? Soul resides in the region of the heart, and therefore the pumping activity is happening, and therefore blood flows. And therefore, as soon as soul passes away from the heart, then all the mechanisms of the blood flow stops, consciousness is stopped, and actually thought process is stopped, and soul, along with the subtle body, resides in the region of the heart. What is the size of the soul? 1/10 of the tip of the hair, balagra sata bhagasya satada kalpitasya cha bhago jiva savidneya sachanyatya kalpate. Shweta Upanishad says that if you take a tip of a hair and cut it into 10,000 times, that is the size of the soul. And therefore, in ant also soul is existing, same size of soul. In the big elephant also same size of soul existing. In dolphin also same size of soul is existing. So we are in the end of our session. If you have any questions, we can answer. I was a little bit fast in this conclusion because I was just keeping an eye on my watch. And these are just a beginning brief things we have covered. There are three fruits which I showed. The first is based on logic and reasoning, common sense. When everybody leaves the body, we say they passed away. Second thing we saw introspection, I and my body. We don't call it I body because soul is owner of this body. Therefore, the soul is identifying the body. Therefore, it is under its care. Third, we saw consciousness, because consciousness is present, therefore we tell yes, soul exists. And then it's a scientific, there's near death experiences and out of body experiences based on the constitution of the body. There's gross body, earth, water, fire, air, ether. When a person leaves the body, we burn him immediately because it is getting decayed. That is material. There's something called subtle, but it's still material. That is mind, intelligence, and ego. It's like a software where everything, like a hard disk, memory card inside the mobile. I can just give an analogy to conclude. Like there's a mobile, the mobile there is a SIM card, then there is a SIM. So SIM can be compared to the soul. The memory card can be compared to the subtle body. External cover can be compared to the mobile. So when mobile gets damaged, if you can get a memory card and a SIM card, you put in a new mobile. Then all the data is transferred into the new mobile. And then when the SIM card is put, then you can connect and you can start answering the calls. Same thing happens here. The gross body is like outer covering of the mobile. The memory card is like a mind. It's still, but the signal which connects to people, which we can interact, we can call, that is compared to like a SIM card. But SIM card in this analogy is dead, and therefore this analogy of a driver and a car makes more sense. The driver is living, that can be compared to the soul, and the car is dead matter. It cannot budge without an inch. That can be compared to the body. I think with this understanding, we have touched the part of a jiva today, and we have some time. It's we have around 7 8 minutes, 10 minutes left, and I would like to ask if you have any questions in this matter. I can try to answer. There is a question from Dr. Nag Lakshmi ji, and she's asking a question on the chat. Hare Krishna, may I know why past life karma is carried to the present life? Very nice question. Because what we call as death is not a full stop. Death is a dot dot dot. For example, when we have a serial, and in that serial we cover some theme, and the theme doesn't get over, then we see it in the next part. So death is not dot. Therefore, I want to stand this whole analogy with I cover a session called as reincarnation. I give this analogy. Many times people think death to be a full stop, and most of the people, the modern day advancement, materialistic advancement, the Western thinkers, they identify the body and they think. Actually, many times people speak of psychology and psychiatry. Actually, the word comes from Greek word called as soul. But because over a period of time, because of materialism, the concept of soul was kept aside. The psychology became the study of mind, intelligence, subtle body. But actually, psych in Greek indicates soul. And therefore, what is thought to be a full stop, death is not a full stop. It is dot, dot, dot to be continued. And why we carry, may I know why past life karma is carried to the present life? Because we are not complete, we are not accomplished our task. Uh, Therefore, soul has a mission to accomplish. And it's like, you go from first standard to second standard. When you go from first standard to second standard, if your basics of first standard is very clear, then second standard become very easy for you. But in the whole first standard, we continue to bunk the class. We are very fearful of the first year of studies of anything, and we just keep on having nice time with our friends. We don't study nicely. When you come to second year, uh, what happens is that it becomes difficult for a preparation. So similarly, the second life is nothing but a second year, and third life is like a third year. The fourth life is a fourth year. So like that, we have been taking many lives, and ultimately, when you go to university, we have to graduate with a degree. And similarly, this universe is a university, as I was explaining the first class. And what is that university? We are human beings. We have come. We are spirit souls on a human journey. We are not human beings on a spiritual journey in this session, but in this life, we are spirit beings, spiritual beings on a human journey. And as human beings, we are simply concerned with eating, sleeping, enjoying, and defending. But we are not asking any questions regarding to what humans should ask. What is life? What is death? How to solve the real problems of life? So till the point we don't come to that conclusion of solving real problems of life, we have not completed our task, and therefore our purpose is not accomplished. And that is the reason, because we have a desire, and that desire becomes completed when we get a spiritual body. Until the time we don't get that perfection, graduating from the university of this world is getting a spiritual body. Then when we graduate from this university, from this boarding school to the paranormal spiritual world, Vaikuntha Loka, Until the time we don't complete that homework, we have to accept material bodies. And when we accept a new body, and then in our settled body, all the desires, unfulfilled desires, are remaining at the time of death. For example, one person may have a desire, okay, I could not get earn a lot of money. Some person may have a desire, okay, I could not enjoy with my wife. Some person may have a desire, okay, I should have spent much more time with my grandchildren. So all those desires are not accomplished in this life. So nature gives us that kind of, if we desire and deserve, the two concepts in it. You desire, we desire something. I may desire I want a big bungalow, but have I done a hard work to do that, get that thing? Then that question comes, deserve also. You should do hard work also accordingly. If you have done hard work, then some people see they are very successful, and some people are not successful. Why? Because it's not just desiring, but based on the past life, they should have done some karma which is being given to them by nature in this life. And therefore, uh, because first year to second year when we go, the first year is going to impact our second year performance. So similarly, the last life is going to impact our next life. For example, a farmer may grow grains, but when you come to rice, the fresh rice is not put into the market, but the old rice is bought into the market and much more costlier. But when 2018 we have grown, if I'm a farmer and I have grown a rice, and the quality of that rice is very poor, and when I come to the vessel, when I come to the container, I have poured it and stored it in my godown, and from down I remove it and pack it and sell it to the market. But in 2020 I have got a very nice rice, and I pour it on the over the same container, because it's a huge 1 ton gather, container. But when that good quality rice will come outside, after this bad quality of rice goes out. So similarly, what choices we made in our last life, what activities we have made in our last life, it is stored in a container of subtle body called as mind, intelligence, and ego. Until the time that is not accomplished, that is not vented out, many times in cycles people speak out schemas, upbringing, there is upbringing disorders, and people have a strange way of reacting to things. So all this is stored there. And similarly, the good quality of rice this year, we will get it only after some time. And that is the reason what activities we have done in the past life, that we have to answer in this life. And then we have to continue with our good activities in this life. And then good activities we are doing right now will come now. So past life karma is carried to the present life because universe is a university. Okay, Mataji, is the question answered to you? Because we have not yet finished. Okay, we have two questions now. Can I take Mataji this Vishal's question? Haribol, Prabhuji, why don't we get our whole karma punishment in Narkaloka, so we'll not carry the karma in our next life? Very nice question. What is the karma regarding Narkaloka? For example, people do very strange activities like, meat eating or torturing somebody, killing somebody, life for life. In olden days, the life for life punishment is to be given by, if somebody kills, then he's killed by the king. So that is a way to overcome that karma. You have killed somebody, then the king kills you, then you can, that karma is finished there, and you carry forward in the next life as a new soul with a new prarabdha. But presently, nowadays what is happening is, there's nothing like capital punishment, and therefore such person is taken to the hell, and there he has to go through a particular punishment. And then, because he is having a very animalistic kind of propensities, he's trained as a particular, according to the desire he has been trained as a particular animal and is put in a particular animalistic uni. That is how university works. Like when you don't prepare nicely, and when you don't complete your homework properly, then sometimes, teacher makes you stand on the bench. So similarly, nature gives us tender punishment. That means you become plants, and nature gives us particular animalistic body, we become animals. Therefore, Narakaloka is there to give us punishment, but after that also some Prarabdha karma remains, and we have to accept as particular species. All completely we don't undergo all the karma in the Narakaloka. We also undergo, because we are responsible as humans. As I told, we have choice to make. As humans, if we don't make right choices, what happens is that by doing, manual has been given to us, Vedic literature, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. Based on that, we don't make right decision. What happens is we are responsible for bad things, as we are responsible for good things. For good things, we get good things in next life. For the bad things we do, we have to face the punishment. We have to undergo punishment for that bad things. And even that narka only, we don't get complete punishment. We then graduate because we have done animalistic activity after getting a treatment, punishment, after getting a thorough stand-up punishment in Narakaloka, we graduate to the animalistic species. And there's no free choice. Therefore, you see animals, they have no free will. Animals can only act by instinct, but as humans, we have free will. We can come off this cycle of birth and death, but animals have no free will. We'll answer it, all these questions much more. The further sentence, there's something called session called as evolving towards perfection. Should be covering in the coming sessions. There, this question of karma will be answered. We have a topic called as karma, that is the fifth topic of our Bhagavata session. So I don't want to, I'll just take the next question. Vishal Prabhu, is it clear to you? And a question from Dr. Naglakshmi ji is, thank you, Prabhuji. Is it only the soul which knows this mission? Will the material body comes to know about the mission? Yes. Material body is dead. As you are asking this question, it's not the body is asking this question. The soul which is conscious is asking the question. Like a driver sitting in the car and driver is driving. So it's not the car is going on itself. So similarly, we are like the driver. We are actually soul and we are sitting in this body. It's not that body is dead. Body has no choices. And as soon as a driver sits inside the car starts moving. Similarly, when mother comes and father comes, and on the day of union of the mother and father, when there is a semen goes into the mother's ovaries, the soul enters to semen in the mother's womb, and that moment the whole body starts growing, and there is 9 holes produced on the seventh day. Then slowly ears are produced on the third day, and Bhagavatam there's different definition of at the end of 6 months all the limbs are produced, and at the end of 9 months 9 days the child is delivered. But because the soul is entering through semen into the egg of the mother, that is the reason the body is growing. That is the reason there are 6 changes which the living body has. The more discussion of this will be covering in the tomorrow session. This was just a synopsis of Jivatma. If you want more answer based on this, we will be covering one topic tomorrow: scientific proofs for soul's existence. It is literally scientific, which I take for technological students, but if you wish to, we can discuss it there. So therefore, a soul has no body has no choices. Till the time soul is in the body, body grows. Moment the soul is, as soon as the child is born, it starts growing because soul is there. Then it becomes 30-year-old, it grows 5 feet 5 inch. Then that is called as growth, birth, growth, maintenance. Then it dwindles. Then there is produces some byproducts and then dies. These are the 6 changes which the living body undergoes. It takes birth, it grows in size, it maintains. After that, it produces byproducts. If we marry, then we produce children, or we produce many of the byproducts in form of urine and excrete and other things. And then dwindling, we become old, and at the time we die. But the non-living things has only 3 things. It is created, it stays for some time, it is destroyed. But the living entity has 6 changes, that it takes birth, grows, maintains, produces byproducts, dwindles, and dies. This is the difference between living and non-living. And therefore, body is not conscious. Till the time soul is there inside, soul is conscious. And soul is aware of the mission. And that is the reason, because when soul only makes a person, actually we are soul. And this body, we are not this body, we are soul. And we're sitting inside this body. And therefore we say my body. Hope, Mataji, answer is clear to you. Soul, body is unconscious till the time soul is present. Moment soul goes, body decays. But till the time soul is present inside, body is conscious. Okay. Any other questions anyone has? I hope this was a little fast. Lot can be spoken on each theme. I discussed three things: logical, introspective, consciousness, near the thought of body experiences, and scriptures. Each session, reincarnation, is a separate session of 1 hour, 1.5 hour, which we are going to cover in the further sittings and other things. Therefore, I'm going to put more on reincarnation because that is what is being in Bhagavad Gita, Dehinosminata Dehe. So, if you have come to the concept that yes, we are beyond this body, body is temporary, even mind is temporary, but beyond that, soul is eternal, and the eternal soul is with temporary things. Therefore, imagine eternal with temporary. There is incompatibility. And similarly, we have to find an eternal mission for the soul, and then only we can become completely happy. So if your questions are answered, so can we conclude today's session? Okay, we have with us today Mahalingam Ayerji, then we have Divya Dalai, we have Lakshmikant, we have Suribisha, Vishal, I think we have Dr. Nagakshmi ji, then it's Kanchan, then it's Pravi Jain. Hope all of you are understanding these concepts. And if I'm very fast, you can tell me, we'll try to cover it at your leisure. And we can explain a lot of analogies by which we can conclude. And we'll end the session now. Again, we'll continue with tomorrow's sitting at the same time, 6:45 to 8. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. And I'll be sending out many materials regarding this thing, what we have covered till now on the WhatsApp. I think Malingam will be circulating it to all of you. And please go through it. First, whatever sessions we have covered, I have a material based on it, a PDF, e-sign, and you can read through it, then you'll understand it. Okay, Hare Krishna. We'll meet again tomorrow. Thank you so much.